much. One thing about this that you see that we're videotaping all of this, we'll be putting it on our blog, our website, mococivilrights.wordpress.com. We'll also provide any information that any of the panelists, speakers here want to forward, such as what Ms. Kane just talked about, so that you can get back in touch with any of them that way if you choose and if they so choose. Voices, okay.
Keep your voices loud enough to be recorded.
All right. With that, I'd like to turn to our own activist, Elsa Lakew. Elsa grew up in Silver Spring and attended Montgomery Blair High School. She now majors in economics at Howard. Elsa organized a Black Lives Still Matter die-in at Wheaton Plaza on January 1st, signifying a refusal to ring in 2015 by continuing to stay silent. Despite being so young, she already has a long activist track record. She helped blow the whistle on an Islamophobic event in Chevy Chase 4 years ago that led to another successful forum of ours about the creeping Sharia myth. And so that's Elsa Lakew. Let's give her a hand.
First and foremost, I definitely just want to thank all the mothers that are here. Just thank you so much for sharing your stories, and you're absolutely brave for this. So, and also, secondly, thank you to the audience members. I'm most certainly honored to be amongst the panelists here. So, with that, I guess I'll start. So the reason why I became active within my own community is because, frankly, at the time, that's all I felt I could do to make my voice heard. I became active within this movement after learning about the news that Darren Wilson would not be indicted for the murder of Michael Brown. A little story. Once I heard the news, I was completely shocked and numb with pain. And a good friend of mine who was sitting next to me at the time that I heard the announcement turned to me and said, "I don't get why you're surprised. How do you expect a system to work for us when it was never built with us in mind?" And I thought that was just so profound and so brutally honest. We could most certainly use that type of honesty from our elected officials. Because oftentimes the clash of ideologies and approach between members of this movement and elected officials happen because members of this movement want accountability. Yet officials want to tiptoe around the situation and find some sort of middle ground. And this is where I think our problem lies. The respectability politics is a very dangerous game to play, especially when it comes to the loss of lives or the loss of just Black lives as a whole. One of the most popular chants of this movement, and I've definitely said it over and over again, is silence equals violence. Silence equals violence. And if we can get past the catchiness of that statement, it echoes a profound message that foreshadows on what will happen if we let this movement die. Because if we become silent, more lives will be lost. We'll be hearing more stories, more grieving mothers, experiences of their loss of their child. And it is by keeping this conversation going and having events such as these that actual positive change can come about this. In addition to that, we must hold the people who we have elected into office accountable. Because I oftentimes criticize some of the actions of the president, and a lot of my friends come to his defense and say, how do you expect, what do you expect Obama to do? He's not the Black president, he's the president of these United States. And I always find that absolutely hilarious because, Obama should know this firsthand, that my Blackness does not negate from the fact that I too am American. Ayanna Jones was American. Tamir Rice was an American, and they should be endowed with the same rights, with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But at the end of the day, even though these marches and protests and demonstrations are vital to keeping this movement going, you can only do so many of them. So something solid has to come out of this movement, and what I think the most important thing that can come out of this movement is in places such as these. It is here in this room, it is present within every single one of you guys. We must urge those who we have elected into office to pass responsive legislation to reinforce a system of accountability. In addition to state legislation we've been hearing about tonight, the Montgomery County Civil Rights Coalition, which I am a part of, advocates for federal and local legislation. Federally, we advocate for the Ending Racial Profiling Act that was sponsored by Ben Cardin, and locally we advocate for the local Civil Rights Restoration Act. And I thank each and every single one of you for coming out today. But if I could just add on to what Lathan said earlier. I don't want to be here 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now, talking about the same issues, having the same demonstrations, chanting the same chants. I often say this to my friends, you know, I often say I am a mother. Even though physically I do not have a child, I plan on having children one day. And I definitely do not want to hear any more mothers in the future testify about losing their child and their and their killers not being held accountable for those crimes. So today, I stand here and just say thank you to all the mothers who are strong enough to share their stories. God bless you, and thank you all for coming.